What's up, LEGO builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for another week of building Coruscant in LEGO. I've got another fire episode planned. I'm going to be putting in some more shops in the entertainment complex, as well as building a staircase that's going to connect the sky bridge and second floor down to the ground floor. And what I'm the most excited about is building the destroyed, crashed vehicle that's going to be smashed into that new block of buildings I'm working on. And I'm jumping back to the clone base. It's been a while. So don't forget to execute Order 66 on that like button, and it's time for me to get building. I'm going to start out this week by showing you guys something really cool I built on Saturday's stream. Some of you have already seen it, but I added in the broken and damaged sections of the road where the vulture droid hits and skids across the top of it. It's not finished. I still have more finishing details to add, and you can see I ran out of bricks last week, so I wasn't able to fill in this section, so I can't add the rest of the damage, but I'm glad I at least got it started. I must say, I think it's looking really good. The transition from non-broken road to broken road looks really good. What I did for that was add a row of slopes along the edge of the bricks, and then matched the chunks of broken road, and then matched chunks of broken road to those slopes as best I could. I'm going to be adding in smaller pieces like cheese slopes into these larger gaps to fill them in, but I'm not going to do that till the very end of the series, or else they'll get moved around, bumped, and lost. I think this is going to add some awesome detail to the mock, and I'm glad I was able to practice this because I'm going to be doing the same technique over here on this building as well. And speaking of this building, I need to figure out what's going down over here. I want to thank you guys for all the awesome feedback. You guys gave me lots and lots of ideas for what to do over here. There were a couple that I really liked, government building as well as bank. Though I liked those suggestions because it kind of makes sense being so close to the Galactic Senate building. And what I could do with the inside here is just leave this entire middle section open, and I could have like a big lobby for a bank or some kind of like waiting area with offices on either side. The reason I need to figure it out soon is because either one of those buildings is going to have a giant door to be able to get in and out. So I'm thinking about taking out this wall and putting the door in right here that'll lead into the lobby area. But another issue I'm running into is if this is either of those buildings, I don't know if it would make sense to have skyscrapers on top, and I really want to have skyscrapers on top of this building like I do over here, because this is Coruscant, and you need skyscrapers, and if I were to not put any on here, these three would be the only three skyscrapers in the entire mock, and I feel like it would be a shame to build a Coruscant mock this big and only have 3 skyscrapers. But the other issue I have is it's right next to the Galactic Senate building, so I can't make them too big because that would look weird having a giant Galactic Senate building and then a skyscraper on this tiny building that's even taller than that. So I'm actually thinking about stealing that one and sticking it on top of here. Maybe just having 2 smaller skyscrapers, maybe like one right here and one right here, and then building something taller to go over there. But let me know in the comments if you think I should put skyscrapers on top of this building. That's pretty much everything I had to catch you up on, and it's time to get back to work over here. I got a bunch of pieces to complete more of the armory, and I'm going to start by adding in a helmet rack. It's going to need to be fairly long and somewhat tall, so I figured this would be a great way to fill up space along that back wall. It's only going to have 2 rows of helmets though, so that it isn't too tall for the clones to be able to reach. Next, I'm going to build some rocket launchers. I wanted to have a variety of weapons in here, so on either side of the door I'm going to build some racks holding rocket launchers. These racks are basically smaller versions of the DC-15 rack I already have in the armory. I am going to leave some slots open to show that clones have already taken some of them. Turns out the rocket launchers are about the same length as the rifles, which is nice because now all the racks are the same height and will make everything look more uniform and organized in the armory. The DC-15 rack is too wide to fit into the side of the armory wall, so I'm going to place down some tiles for it to rest on. That way I can push it as close to the wall as possible without having to connect it to any studs. Last week I hinted at a ship that would be crashed into the new building block, the new building I'm working on, and it's going to be a Republic gunship. Well, what's left of one. I'm building the front section of M5 Build's gunship design, which is the same design as the gunships in my Cato Nemoidia mock. The reason I'm only building the front section is because the front and back of a gunship are the 2 most solid sections, and the whole middle is pretty open and slender, so it makes sense that those 2 sections would be the most likely to not disintegrate if it was hit by an enemy rocket or missile. This is a very slow and annoying process because I didn't buy a whole lot of new parts for this build, so I have to sift through all of the white pieces I already have in order to find what I need. I'm going to leave out certain pieces and sections and add in others to make the build look beaten up and battle damaged. But once I finish the whole thing, I'll go back through and add in even more. I figured it would be easier to build the whole thing and take sections apart instead of trying to build the whole thing looking as broken as possible. I may even add some fire and smoke inside one of the cockpits.
Here's what the gunship looks like so far. You can see it's very pockmarked, very damaged. I left out some of these slopes on the bottom to make it look like shrapnel or chunks of something have cut up the bottom. Got the same thing over here on this side. The back is going to kind of taper off to a point right here on the bottom and then do the same thing on the top. What I want to have happened with this gunship is a missile or some kind of rocket took it right here in the middle section. So that section blew apart and then the back fell off somewhere, and then the front is what's going to go crashing down into the road and then hit into the building. What I still need to do is add the red canopy that goes here on the top and then a little chunk of the top section up here. So as of right now, the plan is to have this gunship come crashing down onto the road, hop up here onto the sidewalk and smash into this building. The reason I had to build this first before the rest of the building is, so I can figure out how big the damage needs to be, where it's going to be, and what it's going to look like. Strewn along behind it, I'm probably going to have, chunks of the gunship, maybe a bit of the wing, turret, a little section of side plating, just something to, signify this came down and was dropping parts as it went. Here's a look at the armory. I'm really liking how this helmet rack looks. I actually think I might make it longer just because there's so much empty space on either side, and I can't really put anything else there. You can see it's too small to have another weapon rack, so I think elongating this and being able to add more helmets is the way to go. In this corner we have the rack of DC-15 rifles, and I'm going to build another one of these to go over here on this side. And here we have the racks of rocket launchers on either side of the door. Really happy with how these turned out, although it is kind of hard to see them just because they're all black. Now all that's left is to tile and plate off the floor and then add in those crates and thermal detonators in the center of the room.
One of my favorite shop suggestions from you guys so far was a blue milk stand. So that's what I'm going to be adding next. It's going to look very similar to the pizza place because, this is basically like a mall where a lot of the restaurants are all squished into the same space, so they're all going to look pretty uniform in order to fit as many in as possible. The last thing I'm going to work on is the spiral staircase. I have to start by laying down some tiles and plate underneath the stairwell and figure out where the support pillars will be because I won't really be able to add any of this in later. I'm going to make each of the steps 2 plates tall so that there will be enough headroom for the minifigs under each flight of stairs. I want them to look fancy as well, so I only connected them to each other by a 1x2 plate, leaving a gap at the edges of each step. Once I get to the top, I'm going to add some more plates to this walkway, connecting it to the stairs. Everything is coming together pretty smoothly, which is nice because sometimes when trying to connect 2 separate builds up off the ground, things don't always line up very well, as I learned very painfully when building Utapau.
Let's check out some progress. So I finished the front side of the Republic gunship and I am very pleased with how it looks. Looks very battle damaged, very disheveled. Overall destroyed. I added a couple of larger broken up sections like right here where you can see into the actual cockpit and then down underneath there. This bottom side looks pretty good. I think the only section I'm really thinking about adjusting still is this back side, just because it's just this simple row of brick, and I kind of want to make it look more realistic, less Lego-like. And then I'm thinking about adding some dark bluish gray and black plate along the edges right here just to make it look kind of blackened and burned. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with the cockpits though, because I don't have the pieces to build a partially broken one. I'm thinking about having this front one on and then the back one off because I wanted the pilot in the back to have escaped. I'm thinking I'm going to have the front one be trapped closed by the wall that collapses on it when it runs into the building, and then obviously the clone pilot in the front is more likely to be dead than the one in the back. So I think he'll just be stuck in there. But that's it for that. I want to show you guys the blue milk stand. It's pretty much the same as the pizza place. The only real difference is the counter area, just because they don't need to assemble the blue milks here. But I do have the little cash register section with the sneeze guard. Pretty happy with how it's looking. If you guys have any other suggestions for what should go in for other shops, let me know. I still need to put in a shop right here, here,
and then this whole row right here. So ample room. I was able to pretty much finish up the stairs. I'm actually really happy with how they look. This was a lot more fun and looks a lot cooler than I thought it was going to be. I really like the look of the gaps at the edges of the plates. There's going to be a row of tile and plate on all of this, so it'll match. So it'll basically look like this. The railings look pretty good too, although I did struggle finding a pipe that's the right length. And then we've got a little landing up here. And then I'm going to have the railing run up this side. I don't need to worry about railing right there because obvious where they're going to fall. And then once I get some more railing pieces ordered in, I'll finish it up right here and it'll come around up here, basically adding protection all the way up the stairs. Right here I added in a couple of inverted slopes because I realized when the roof ran out all the way to the edge right here, it was barely tall enough for one of these regular minifigures to go through. So I figured someone like a Wookiee or a Gungan might hit their head. So that little arch is to add extra height room for people walking up the stairs. This was a very good episode. I'm very excited to have that gunship done because now I can start to work on the battle damage for this block of buildings, and then the entertainment complex is really coming to life. Now it's time to talk about what's going down next week. What a week. Very satisfied with the progress that was done, especially that stairwell. That was a bit of a surprise, to be honest. I had no solid vision or plan for what I wanted it to look like, so to have it turn out as good as it did on the first try was really cool. Next week I'm going to be jumping back to that new building that I'm working on, adding in the battle damage on the sidewalk, and hopefully starting on the wall where that gunship crashes in. I do have a little bit of a hang up there because I'm going to be using the same net technique in that section as I did with the vulture droid, and I only have one net right now, so I'm going to need to order in more of those. And I'm going to be showing you guys what's in between the top floor of the entertainment complex and the ground floor. I've been hinting at what I wanted to do there, but I came up with a pretty cool idea. I think it was last week, so I'm excited to see if I can make that happen. All that being said, don't forget to let me know what you thought about this update down below in the comments, and I'll catch you next time. But until then, happy building.